Hi, my name is Karam, and today I'm going to be doing a quick photo edit on one of my favorite photos. I've already done the edit, but I wanted to show you my process, and hopefully you can gain some useful information from this. So, we'll start out with a quick crop. And I'm actually going to work with an 8x10 crop today, I think, to bring the image in. I think that might work. This bottom layer of cloud is kind of where I'm trying to base some of my crop on. I'm also trying to base it off of the center. And I don't think I can ever get both of them perfectly centered, so I'm trying to get the in-between. Trying to get the middle cloud centered as much as possible and the bottom line centered as much as possible. But I don't think it's gonna be perfect. Alright, I think that'll have to do for now. So first off, I'm going to go to the tone curve to make global adjustments on the photo. So I increased the brightness a little bit in the midtones, but I'm going to really try to increase the contrast here the most because I find that the contrast brought in cloud photos are just so amazing. I mean, look how much that has brought out all the specific layers and lights and darks of the image. I'll work with the highlights a little bit here, but I think I'm actually going to bring down these highlights. In this basic slider here. So bring them down all the way. Increase the exposure slightly here, a bit less than that. I'm going to type in probably 0.10. You have to be careful with the exposure slider especially. I mean, I find that I do a lot of like small little, 1/10 of numbers on that slider specifically. I'm going to do the contrast slider next. And I think I really want to bring out all the shadows in this image and then work with them later. The whites and blacks don't need major adjustment. Kind of based on feeling. Alright, so after working with my basic tone sliders, I'm going to be going to the present sliders, and I like to work with clarity initially. And I think I'm going to avoid texture for now. For me, at least, I think texture can be a little bit harsh on the image sometimes. So there's no haze in the photo, so I'm going to move my way down to the vibrant slider. The thing I like about the vibrant slider in particular is that it brings out a lot of the undersaturated colors. But I don't think we're going to need to move this saturation bar, no, at all, because I think that's going to be, I think there's enough color in the image already, as is. I also really want to, I feel like there's a lot of purple in this image, and that's one of my favorite colors in photos, so I'm going to bring that out a little bit. I feel like bringing out certain colors in the saturation under HSL can be a little bit better sometimes than the overall saturation bar, because some colors, like the bright oranges in this photo or the blues, are already pretty darn saturated, but I think the purples can be brought out a little more than they are. I'm also gonna just do some noise reduction. There's a little bit of noise in the photo, so I'm gonna do some noise reduction. I don't like to do this too much because it can make the image look pretty fake pretty fast. And when I increase the noise reduction to a certain point, let's say 32, I also like to increase the detail because that'll bring out a lot of the elements that get lost in noise reduction again. And I don't mind bringing detail all the way to 100, to be honest. It doesn't seem to be making a huge difference when I do that. I'll lower noise reduction slightly. I think that looks pretty good. If you notice here, there's a little dot in the image below the big cloud, and I'm gonna remove that with a spot removal tool and match it with a surrounding part of the image that works well. So I think that right there makes it look pretty normal. Have opacity at 100% because it's a spot that's probably on the sensor. I don't need to have any of that on there. And it's pretty unrecognizable now. The next thing I like to do after working with the basic sliders and the tone curve is working with the graduated filter. Let's see. The saturation is accidentally on. I feel like the bottom of this image can be brought out a little more. So I'm going to increase the shadows. And that seems like a decent amount of exposure. It looks pretty good, I think. Increase the contrast to keep it uniform. I think that looks pretty good. I also really love that purple that's under this layer of cloud right here. I want to bring that out with some exposure with a radial filter. Let's add some contrast to that. I think that's looking a bit off for some reason. So let's see what the issue is. I think it's a contrast. I think the contrast is making it too intense. And I think I just added too much brightness. So let's half this. I think that looks a little more natural. Okay, and I'm also gonna put a big radial filter in the center of the image. And increase the contrast. I said to be really careful with how much brightness I used. I used 0.17 before and that was too much, so I put it down to 0.9 again and kind of balanced it out a little more. And I think the right hand side of this photo could use a little brightening. Keep on making that mistake with the saturation there. It's like a 0.04. Slight saturation increase. I mean, these are very small changes, but I tend to notice them. And I just like having a really balanced image that you can, look at multiple points and find things in, And this bottom right-hand side is fairly dark. Let's see what happens when I add another radial filter on that side. that looks all right. I'll reduce the intensity a little bit, but I think I'll keep it. So overall, I think this is where I want the picture to be. I don't like to edit too much, so I think it looks pretty balanced as is. So thank you for coming to the video, and if you have any recommendations or if you want to see any other content in the future, please let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much. Bye.